Hello, this is Jake Vondelinde along with Chris Hester, and we would like to welcome you to our Grading for Equity professional development for today. We will walk you through the purpose of our grading work, updates from the Grading Advisory Committee, a professional development overview for our remaining sessions this year, and details for your professional development session this morning. Our grading work aligns with our district strategic plan. The plan areas that intersect with our work in grading include number one, our graduates are prepared to achieve their goals and aspirations, which includes ensuring that students are college and career ready, delivering a challenging, joyful, and safe learning environment, and delivering innovative, effective, and practices and systems. Number three, we are a culturally responsive, inclusive, anti-racist district. We are working to ensure that all of our educators are committed to anti-racist practices. At the secondary level, our current focus for our anti-racist work is through our instruction and grading work. Although we've been calling this grading for equity, the grading portion is really just the ending point. All of the other practices that go into our grading decisions must also be equitable. In real estate, the emphasis is on location, location, location. Well, similar to that, our grading work is on learning, learning, learning. The goal is to make learning and our expectations around learning clear and explicit for students. It is not about giving every student an A or about lowering rigor. It's actually the opposite of that. It's having high expectations for ourselves and making sure that we have identified what students need to learn in our courses, what is essential for them to know, and making that explicit for them. It's about raising our standards and setting proficiency scales to identify the progress of their learning and providing students clarity about their learning and our learning work. This is our rubric work, providing students what they should know in order to be successful in your class, or what they don't know or still need to learn. Our instructional practices and structures around grading is our equity and anti-racism work. It is our equity mindset coupled with our equity skill set. The purpose is to focus on learning and have conversations with students and families about learning. It's certainly not about how many points a student has acquired or what their current percent is in your class. The feedback we provide students should focus on their learning so that they know what they have learned and what they still need to learn. We're working to create a grading system and practices that are transparent, equitable, accurate, bias resistant, and motivational.
So take some time right now for critical self-reflection. We have put some questions on this slide from our Roseville Educational Equity Curriculum and Instructional Compass. Please pause the video for 5 minutes and write down your reflections to these questions about your equity pedagogy. Focus on your own class and your collaborative team. What is your data telling you about grading and student achievement in your classroom? How do I identify equity and inequity in my instructional and grading practices? How do I know when parts of my instruction and grading practices are having an empowering or detrimental impact on my students? How do I ensure that student outcomes are not impacted by or predictable by student identity? Grades and the topic of grading can be very personal and highly emotional aspect of education to discuss, but that does not mean we are not going to discuss it. That doesn't mean we can't change our practices. We're going to be bringing loose and tights from our grading advisory committee to our secondary staff. These are all potentially technical changes we need you to lean into, making it an adaptive change. Understanding your mindset around students, around equitable practices, and your own biases is how adaptive change occurs. We have convened a grading advisory committee throughout this year and want to take a second to thank all the members who have helped out thus far. Thanks to all of our teachers and administrators who have continued to work with us this year. A significant piece of the work that we completed this year was choosing a grading scale for ROS, which is a technical change. We decided to use the 50 to 100 scale. We reviewed multiple scales, including 0 to 100, 0 to 8, 0 to 4, 0 to 7, and weighed the strengths and weaknesses of each. A special thanks to Bob Anderson, who shared much of the mathematics behind each of the grading systems, and to Robin Matson, who put many proposals together that helped us get to the strengths and weaknesses of the systems.
You probably noticed that it only said at ROS on the last slide. As a committee, we recognized that one scale might not necessarily fit all of our secondary buildings. Therefore, we chose to begin a middle level subcommittee. Since most grades at the middle level do not go on a student's transcript, we're in the process right now of discussing grading at the middle level and considering whether we align with the elementary standards-based report card or align with ROS with the 50 to 100% scale and using the A through no mark grades. We hope to land that discussion by the end of this school year. We also have yet to form a FOS subcommittee to discuss the needs at FOS and what our grading should look like at our district's alternative high school. Currently, the full committee is discussing our grading practices and creating a comprehensive list of grading loose and tights. We also hope to have these identified by the end of this school year and to share them with you at our May 24th Grading Professional Development. This slide shows our 3-year plan for professional development around grading. We shared this with you all at the beginning of this year and wanted to bring it back as a reminder. We know that we may need to adjust some timelines as we monitor the realities of implementation. However, we are still planning to share our grading loose and tights with you by the end of this year, and our focus next year will be on learning those grading loose and tights. We plan for implementation of grading loose and tights in the 2025-2026 school year. This slide shows what we had originally planned for our professional development for this school year. You can see that we had introductory topics in the fall, followed by many collaboration and application of learning days. Now we're back into the professional development as we have today, May 10th and May 24th as grading PD days. We've had to adjust the topics based on our current reality, but today we are focusing on rubric work.
As a reminder from the previous slide, this year was a learning year with focus for rubrics. Today, our focus is on rubric writing and proficiency scales. We want to provide you with resources today that will either help you get started in writing rubrics, or if you've already have rubrics, the information will help you refine and revise what you currently have. You will also hear about proficiency scales. We plan to work on this aspect of our grading with our grading advisory committee to define our proficiency scale for all of secondary. For now, we're using a working draft of five levels, 0 to 4 scale to define proficiency. We created this rubric to assess the quality of your rubrics. The document is broken into 2 parts. The first part is a rubric for grading practices and implementation. This can be used to identify where you are in grading practices, learning, and application. The second part is the criteria for writing rubrics. In this document, you will find a deeper description about what it takes to develop a clear rubric. Again, we'll be using a working draft of 5 levels in the rubric and labeling them from 0 to 4. We have yet to land on the language for our proficiency scale descriptors, but have provided you with draft language for today. You have a lesson plan for today. Please follow the plan and use the time for discussion, planning, and application time with your team. We wanted to provide everyone with a baseline of knowledge, so you will all read the same article today, as well as watch 2 videos about grading and using rubrics. Please start by reading Chapter 9 of Standards-Based Learning in Action, Moving from Theory to Practice by Schimmer, Hillman, and Stalitz. You'll then watch a video from Schimmer called Give Them Full Credit, which is about 8 minutes. And finally, another video from Cassie Erkins called Intro to Scales and Rubrics, which is about 5 minutes. Take some time after reading and watching to discuss the questions on the lesson plan.
After reading and watching the videos, you will have time for discussion with your CT about your rubric practices and time to collaborate with your collaborative team on creating, revising, and aligning rubrics that you use. Alignment is key in this work. The more aligned we can be in our work, the more equitable experience we will provide for all of our students. Thanks for your continued focus in this extremely important work. Please reach out to both Chris and myself or your school administration if you have any questions. And thanks again.